Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights. Let's talk about what's been going on at Viking Ice Arena. You've never seen a league so exciting and tough and fast. It simply must be discussed on an equally exciting and tough podcast. What's it called? Monday Night Lights. Yeah. Monday Night Lights. The Tigers, the Nordics, the Whalers, the Seals, the Americans, the North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the whoop line.
Oh, you're going to have to explain that to the fans. Because fans don't even know.
Most people know, but real quick, we're back in the well. Sorry. Gib posted this Troy Athens video, and they wound up winning the high school Division I championship for boys soccer, men's soccer. But they got all excited and they created their own song. And Gib's like, "Does anybody recognize this?" And it's like Troy Athens Soccer, the exact same voice as the Monday Night Lights podcast song. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out.
It's that sweet one dude that wants to get in the league. He's probably an ex Troy high school athlete and stole the song.
It's Scarlett Johansson farts guy or whatever. Anyways.
The Monday Night Lights podcast is back. Brian Piercy, as you could hear, Troy Otto and Andrew Hedis, they're North Stars. They kind of merged together.
Spicy lettuce, one Voltron being. It's okay.
I did change your little name tag to say spicy lettuce, so just to let you know. But
wasabi wrap.
Get to the point. We are joined today by Mr. Sam Mackey. How you doing, buddy?
Can't complain. It's good to be here.
Good to be here. Have you here as well. You might remember Sam from such voicemails as Billy Baloney. Let's see.
Ben Carson.
Yeah, Ben Carson. That one was
the first lady as well.
Yeah, that one was a little more. I didn't like that one very much. I wasn't very proud of it.
He's like Oppenheimer. He doesn't like what he created.
I have become death, destroyer of podcasts.
Yeah, but hey, your Billy Baloney voicemail, it's our number 2 rated video on YouTube.
What is number 1?
The Monday Night Lights theme song, of course.
That makes sense. Okay, fair enough. I can live with that.
But yeah, as always, give us a call on that Whoop line, 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show podcast at mnlhl.com. Follow, subscribe on Twitch. I just hit my 5th month, 5-month streak there as well. If you're interested in being on the show, go to stats.mnlhl.com, click on the podcast lineup link and fill out the form, or just contact me directly. Let's move on to some news of the day, possible rumors and others. First thing on the day, MNL will be having its first volunteering event coming up on February 29th, 2020. Leap year apparently is coming up. Ryan Allen organized this event. Sounds like it's going to be at a food bank taking place. We're looking for about 25 to 30 guys, it sounds like. So we've already had a good amount of people saying they're interested in doing it, but I think this is a good thing for MNL.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to steal Ryan Allen's thunder, but this was actually my idea, inspired by Ryan Allen's goalpost post earlier. But it's kind of that time of year, the holiday season. We're doing some volunteering for my son, and I was like, you know what? We got 70 guys. This is all great, but I think we should just use it to do something good. So did a little Google search, came up with it, and yeah, sounds like it's going to happen. So we need 20 guys. You'll feel good about yourself. I think it's going to be a good thing. Looking forward to it.
For all the fans that weren't watching but listening, all 3 of us actually took a sip of our hot toddies at the same time. A little Kermit the T-Frog meme there. So it's my idea, Ryan Allen.
Yeah, Mr. Hedis was nice enough to bring in some ingredients for that, so we appreciate that as well. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing. Looks like it's going to be down in Detroit. I don't know if there'd be a way to do something in the future in Hazel Park, kind of give back to that city, but I think anything doing good in the area is a good thing.
Yeah, that's I think that would be good to do something a little more local, but we'll start here, and who knows? We'll see what comes up next. Proctor also mentioned a possible black tie affair to benefit the Madison Heights Fire Department, and I think that could be cool. I called it the MNL prom, but maybe that could be part of the Dickie Duns. I don't know. Lots of potential.
That'd be great. The
Lots
Dickie
of potential.
Duns.
But I like the idea of dressing up, bringing out the spouses,
Red carpet.
letting them into this crazy world, and then if we can make some money for the Binns Fire Department, even better.
Oh, that's all I need is to go to a black tie affair by myself, standing in the corner with my head down the whole time.
No way. No, it'd be easy, Pierce. You'd be the guy with the mic. You'd be like the Entertainment Tonight guy interviewing. So, Troy Otto, how do you feel about the North Stars? And
Not bad.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a great time to me. Everybody's there with their loved ones, but me sitting there trying to interview people.
I'm trying to give you an excuse to not bring a date, man.
Mrs. Otto, how do you feel about your husband's hockey career?
Piercy, these are, if you hadn't just blown it, you could have just, a little escort service, come with a
Yeah.
fucking smoke show, and just, Piercy, come
he's got
on, come on.
he's got two ladies both sides, or he like hits up like Dave Pierce, somebody else, like, hey, can you have your wife bring her friend? Bang bang, like little Dylan.
Plenty of time.
Hey, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm a very good looking man. If I really want a date, I can find a date.
Yeah, sure. Can't get a word edgewise here, but here.
I feel like you're biting on this topic, Sam. Let's go to some comebacks here. I'm ready for some abuse.
No, that's it. That's fine. We don't need to belabor that point.
Oh, what a gentleman! What a beauty!
That's fair. I have no problem with anybody picking on me. But second thing on the night is, like we said, give that Whoop line a call, 714-75-WHOOP. We did get a voicemail about 10 minutes before the fellas arrived today. I was able to download it real quick and get it loaded up. So let's click on it and get a quick listen.
Sammy, did you hear what Piercy just did? Because he does that to me sometimes.
No, I
he makes a little joke about himself saying that he's a dork. I'm like, hey, we can get you a little date. And he's like, hey, if I need a date, I got a date. It's like, well, why the fuck did you say you were a dork? You see what he did there?
Oh yeah, and then I bit it. I took the bait.
Well, to be fair, I'm guilty of both. So, but anyways, let's play the voicemail.
Hey, Monday Night fans. This is Sassy Sebastian calling in, the Monday Night super fan. And after watching yesterday's games, I could not be happier. I'm so glad I stopped watching the Fed to watch Monday Night Lights. Let me tell you, the guys are cuter, and the league is just so much more banging. So many goals were scored last night, 3-2, 4-3. My favorite old team, the Mighty Duckies, they tried their hearts out last night, and it's unfortunate they lost to the Americans. But going forward, I'm pretty sure Benner and I'm pretty sure Kyle Bauer will score all the goals when Sugar's out. But hopefully Sugar's back next week. Anyway, so and shout out to the North Stars for being a first place team. You guys are stellar, and Kronk, such a huge game. 1 goal, 1 assist, and some NHL caliber plays. We brought his family there. He was super cute. And then lastly, it was the Ducks? Yeah, it was the Deeks. The Deeks and the Tigers. Finally get to see Matt Taylor in his full morning glory. Glory. Anyways, he totally had a great game, and so did the rest of the Tigers. It was 4-3, NHL caliber, lots of shots and goals. Andy Pham had a hat trick and still lost. Oh, love the action. Keep it up, boys. Anyways, this is Monday Night super fan, Sassy Sebastian. Bye.
Well, sounds like we have a new fan there.
That was interesting.
As a comedy guy over here, Sam, why don't you tell us what you think first?
It was beautiful. Sometimes when you hear somebody speak, you can't tell what's really going on under there. And and I know that my voices aren't great. You can always tell it's me. She is just completely sincere, and I totally believe it 100%.
Did you say she?
Yes, of course I did.
I thought it was a guy. Troy, what did you think?
I don't know. If you gave me 10 guesses, I couldn't come up with who that was. But I'm just happy to have another fan in the league, They seem to be a North Stars fan, too, so we'll take them, or her, or it.
I'm sure, Hedis, you love all your North Stars staying over there.
I love the North Stars. I don't know. It sounds like a Mighty Ducks fan to me. Anyone calls them Mighty Ducks, the Mighty Duckies is pretty high on the Ducks.
That's true. A Bauer
Quack,
fan.
quack. But, yeah, as always, thank you to those fans giving those calls. Next item on the agenda is apparently Mr. Keith Wood. He's been talking about his cameras. He's able to get one, try it out. It sounds like so far the results are positive, and he's looking to possibly edit some videos together. He was talking about a possible 6-camera shoot. I don't know if that was for one rink, both rinks, but I'd like to see some MNL highlight reels going.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Whatever he comes up with will be better than what we have. So I think a goal of a week thing could be pretty cool. I'm assuming with all these smart young guys that we have, someone will make it happen. My only reservation is I kind of have these images in my mind of like when I score a goal, like I look like fucking cool, and then I just have this harsh reality is that when you see it on tape, you're gonna be like, oh my god, I look like a fat, slow bender, terrible person. So that's my only. I know not for the Proctors, like they look good, but in my mind, I kind of like see myself like sniping in this awesome celly, and then I just know that that's not what it's gonna look like on film.
Yeah, usually when you score a goal, you can see your head kind of start swelling a little bit. So
I don't know. Anytime I make a save and it's a glove save, I'm throwing the windmill in there and it looks like a beauty. So.
Goalies look good. The goalies are going to look good. The high end guys are going to look good. It's us benders that I'm scared about.
It's always going to look good in real time. It's just that when you rewatch it, you always have to pick on yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever gone to the rink and you watch like the old drop-in skates on Sunday morning? They're all old and slow, and then you're kind of like, man, is that what we look like? And it's like, yep, that's what we look like.
we probably look worse than those guys actually, because those guys are probably guys that grew up playing hockey, and then I'd like to be. I'd be curious of how we look as well. I know, like you said, there's a lot of times you feel like you did something, you feel like it's smooth, looks good, and you see other guys at your skill level doing stuff, and you're like, they look horrible.
Yes.
Well, newsflash, you probably look just like them. Sam, are you interested in seeing yourself on tape?
Absolutely not. Honestly.
I should rephrase that.
It's quite a
Interested in
treat.
seeing yourself on tape on the ice.
On the ice. Oh, okay. It was kind of like what you said when you look at somebody and they're around your skill level and you're like, is that what I look like? Well, everyone there is above my skill level, and so there's a little bit of I don't want to know what that one looks like.
Well, it's a thing of beauty, Sammy. It's a thing of beauty.
Give yourself a little credit. We're all getting better every day, or we're getting older, slower, and maybe everybody's just kind of mushing together in the same skill level. But I think our biggest news of the week so far is people probably know this already, but Mr. Jeremy Drager, we were talking about him, I think, 2 episodes ago about trying to make a comeback, first or second game of November. Turns out, unfortunately, that's not going to happen this Thursday. He's going to be having surgery to get his ACL and meniscus repaired. Sounds like somewhere between 6 and 9 months is the return for the injury. I've heard some people go as quick as 3 months on this, but I'd say safe bet is at least 6 months. So this has got to be a blow for the Nordiques.
I mean, I would say it's a blow for the Nordiques, but I don't know if Panny actually, as a GM, even though he's out, I don't know if he minds from a strategic point of view being able to sub in other guys that were kind of steals at the round, like a Pellet or maybe like Salmonelli or
Old Man Ite,
or Math the same round as him. Yeah. So I mean, you can kind of sub in place those other players. I know there was some trade speculation earlier last week that maybe Panny might try to move his spot to another team, or another team might want that availability so it could help them out during the season. It could be a detriment in the playoffs, but during the season, when you can kind of sub in a guy pre or post game, and when they have either fresh legs or their legs are already warmed up from a game, it could be kind of nice for that team and make that team flexible depending on who they have in their squad. But for the Deeks especially, I think that they may try to hold on to that spot if Ice trade him. So it may not be as bad as it seems on paper, even though we all love Panny and enjoy him being at the rink. Hopefully, he still comes out and stays at the rink, but. We'll see.
Now, the trusted voice on Twitter last week reported that apparently there was an offer made of Math for Panny having the GM of the North Stars here. Any movement on this? Any comment on this trade?
Yeah, well, first I want to say, it's all joking aside, I feel horrible for Panny. Because this happened, what I find the worst part about it is I believe this all stems from like an Adam House collision. I think it was in the playoffs, maybe even the Stanley Keg Finals. And I totally understand, Panny, not wanting, you don't want to go like right under the knife, but it's just a bummer because he went through like 6 to 7 months of physical therapy and bullshit. And if he would have just had the surgery then, it's like he'd be on his road to recovery now. So he basically was out for 6 months, and now he's out another 6 to 9 months. So I just feel very bad for Jeremy. And yeah, on the ice, I mean, they'll be okay. It is annoying, like the idea of getting like a Pellet or an Old Man Ite is nice, but the annoying part of having to worry about it every week, and then you can't have chemistry, and then it's like, are you gonna get this guy? Is he tired? Or if you play at the 9 o'clock game, does the guy not want to sub because his team plays at 10, and then he kind of goes like 75%? So all in all, I think it's a net loss, and I just feel very bad for Panny. As far as the trade goes, that was those were some legitimate talks. But the good news is, I think Maff is settled into his role as a North Star. Him and Judge are a dynamic duo, and I'm not going to say that Maff is ecstatic and he's going to have a North Star's tattoo, but I think the word is content, and Maff's a big key to our recent success, so we're happy to keep him so that I can quash that trade rumor, and Maff will be a North Star for the rest of the year, hopefully.
So I know 2 weeks ago when you guys won, Maff came out of the arena. He had a big smile on his face. It kind of felt like he was buying in. Sounds like that trend is continuing. Maybe Ty has learned some lessons of how to deal with players, keep things down. I think there's lots of people that have different points of views, but you got to know when to say them, when not to. Respect everybody as far as individuals go.
Yeah, and I think Ty's learning. We've all made our mistakes, but the North Stars, we have a nice room. We got a good blend in there, and that's the thing. We have a group of 77 people. There isn't a single locker room that's going to have 11 people that think the same way. So I think Maff is feeling good. We're playing well. I mean, winning helps. It's more fun when you win. I mean, we were pretty gloom and doom. I wasn't having a ton of fun the first 3 weeks either. So, but things are coming around, and I don't want to turn this into North Stars tonight. But
I'll turn it
that
into North
rumor
Stars
is
tonight. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's jump on the gray train. But I mean, hey, when you win, like, everything is solved, right? That's why everyone goes to the Patriots and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, because they win. So, I mean, winning definitely helps. It's definitely a good medicine to have.
Now, Sam, with Drager being out, in your opinion, should the Nordiques consider trying to find a full-time fill-in, or should they be trying to just sub someone in every week?
If I were them, I would want to have a full-time fill-in. Frankly, it does help. It does remove some of that anxiety, and I know that there are some people out there who would love to come in every week and play with us who didn't have an opportunity or maybe regret not signing up again this year.
Now, I know it's being part of the Ivory Tower, Troy. I don't know if has there been any talks about full-time fill-ins, and how strict are we going to be as far as levels concerned? Of now, Drager was, I think, 8th round, first pick in the 8th round. How much are we looking to match that talent? Kind of the sub up versus sub down. Like, how strict will we be there?
Well, there's been the concept has been talked about, but there hasn't been an actual name. I know Hedis had mentioned someone, but Balasia's name got thrown around. Now, a healthy Balasia would probably be an upgrade over Panny, but Balasia himself is coming off of leg surgery. So we thought that might be a possibility, but I still don't think he's close enough to be returning. So it's been discussed, but I can't give you a name. But to answer your question, I don't think everyone wants to just be fair. So we wouldn't rush into anything. If there was a new replacement player that people weren't familiar with, I think they'd make them skate at least twice just to make sure that everybody's comfortable. We don't want to penalize the Nordiques, but we also don't want them to get an unfair advantage.
Fair enough. And Hedis, question about subbing. Now, we know there's some guys in that range. We have probably like a Gibb, we have a Pellet, we have an Ite. When you're looking to sub there, how important is it to get someone who fits the position of defense in that area versus, say, a skilled player? Like, what are you looking for? What are you looking for that chemistry-wise?
Well, as a non-GM, I can only jump into the introspection of those GMs in the league. And in my mind, I would assume, depending on the team you are, it matters. So in the Deeks case, they're kind of rigid because they have their 4 forwards. They have their arguably 2 benders, right, with Drago and Wright. They're going to be posted on that right wing, and those 2 forwards are going to play forward. So in the Deeks case, they're kind of stuck. They kind of do need another defenseman to take his spot because he was drafted as a defenseman and not flexible. A team like perhaps like the Tigers, a team perhaps like the North Stars, or even the Americans to an extent. After Salmonelli this past weekend, I don't know. I think I don't know if it's Sam's idea or Manny's idea, but he worked out pretty splendid last night. Those three teams are a little bit more flexible, where they have a couple guys who play either forward or defense. So for those teams, it might be easier. But for the Deeks specifically, I think if they're gonna bring in somebody from the outside, you'd probably want that person to be a defenseman, and then any of those subs that they get to come in, it have to be like two-way players that can either play forward or defense, and they're just gonna slot them in at defense.
Yeah, we saw that last night because I was a little surprised when the Nordiques announced their subs. They took Maff for Brennan, and then for Panny they took Whoop, and I was like, holy cow, that was kind of announced. And I was like, Pellets
Did Whoop? I don't think Whoop played for him.
No, he didn't. But I'm saying they actually picked. I'm just to Hedis's point about needing a defenseman. I was clearly thinking, okay, they're going to ask Pellet, and then they asked Whoop, and that was kind of shocking. And Whoop was going to play, but then after the first game, he was like, dude, I'm toast. And then Pellet was ready, so they wound up going with Pellet. And I don't know. We'll get to that. You watched that game. Sammy did not participate, so I don't know how Pellet did as a defenseman. But I agree 100% with Hedis. Like, if this was the North Stars, and when we considered trading for this spot, I'm like, I'm going to take the best skater available, mostly Pellet or Ite, and if that means I have to play D, like we have multiple guys that can play forward or defense, but the Nordiques do really not have that flexibility, so puts them in a little bit of a tougher spot.
Yeah, watching last night's game, Pellet, he's a good player, especially for where he got drafted, but he did not look comfortable back at defense, and he's not quite the same player. I don't know what Ite's availability was. A lot of times when you have that bye week, you want the bye week. You don't want to actually come in and play. So they did try to get Whoop stepped down because he knew he didn't have the energy, which that's noble of him to, try to make sure he's not losing a game for the other team. So it sounds like they're probably going for that D strategy, but that's one of the things in that you have to sub down, and you're trying to fill a certain spot when you don't have the flexibility on your team to move people around.
Yeah, Brennan coming back will help that because last night they had to fill 2 D spots. So if Brennan's back healthy, then they only have to fill 1, and I'm sure Maff, will be asked to sub quite a bit. Ike can play D as well, so it'll work out for him.
Yeah, and Brennan sounded like he got an MRI or something on Monday. He's waiting to get the results. He's hoping to play Friday for the Worms, so that would be good news for the Nordiques there.
Correct.
So next item on the agenda for news, this coming week is the end of Bender overtime.
Don't say that so hushed. You're like, this week, Bender overtime ends.
I would say this, and you can agree with me or not. I feel like maybe not the players on the bench that aren't Benders, but I feel like the fans love watching Bender overtime.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a player on the bench, but I certainly love Bender overtime.
You're
it's
a Bender,
interesting.
though. You can get out there.
Of course, yeah. Honestly, though, with the 3-on-3, I definitely feel completely lost when I'm out there, but it's still fun. It's enjoyable. And honestly, it makes someone like me is not getting out on overtime when it's not Bender OT. I'd love it to last as long as it possibly can. It's
got to be one of the best parts about the league. And I think even the Sertas of the world who hate Benders more than me, I think even Serta can appreciate, Bender OT because I think everyone gets a big kick out of it. Everyone's glued to the glass when it's happening. And Sammy, you've played in it before, just not this year.
No, I've played it this year.
Oh, you did with cause I thought you've only played 2 games. Did you guys go to OT against
No, we
the
had
Seals?
a third game that I played in. It must have been the first one when I was back.
Gotcha.
We lost in
Tigers, right? Didn't you guys play the Tigers?
Yes, it was the Tigers.
Gotcha. So one more week of it. It's sad to see it go, but it's a special thing. And then the good guys still get to do the shootout, which I think the scoring rate of all time Bender OTs is probably 33%.
So I'm going to ask a question. We all love Bender overtime. We can know that right now the league or the schedule is kind of split into 3 tiers. You play everybody 3 times. We know that the Ivory Tower, we try to do the right thing. We want to make the league as good as possible. Should we extend Bender OT out until the end of the second round?
I don't think so. Because as much as it's enjoyable, we try to be fair, and the good players, they want to play 3-on-3 too because it's a lot of fun. They got a lot of space to wheel and deal. So we picked 10 weeks. How many regular season games are there? Like 21 weeks. So I tried to just pick an arbitrary number, about 50-50. So it's close enough. if the Ivory Tower decided to extend it, I certainly wouldn't object, but I think it's fair the way it is.
Hot take. Let's extend it indefinitely. I think all OT should be Bender OT. Why? All the All-Stars are in the shootout anyways, not scoring. So let's let the Benders bend it up inside OT. It's a bunch of fun, especially when Troy Otto scoring goals in Bender OT and everyone has salty tears of oh no, Troy scored or no, who was it one year? Someone I think about 2 years ago it was might have been Myers scored a Bender OT goal on me and I was on the Americans and it was pretty spicy. They all jumped the bench and he did a little slide thing out to half ice. So it's always fun seeing the Benders score and or just get out there because guys like Busta, some of the people may not have breakaways during the game, but when they're against similar talent, Bustas has a breakaway against Shepard. What's going to happen? Let's go.
So, question for Sam. If we extended Bender overtime, would that give the North Stars too big of an advantage knowing that Troy Otto's on that team?
No, it wouldn't. That's okay.
Yeah. I'm going to put a proposal out there. The Ivory Tower can listen or not. As a trusted voice would say, is I think we should extend it out to the end of the second round, or second kind of period, round, whatever you want to call it. Go into that third round, get it ready for the playoff push there. That's just my personal thought. I think it's a good time. Like people said, the majority of the Benders aren't going to get out there in overtime at all, and they're not going to be available for that shootout. Whereas of right now, the odds of Bender overtime scoring, it's happened a few times, but it happens. There's a shootout more times than not.
Yeah.
Those, the top people are going to be shooting in those overtimes. I don't want to make a rule where if you have the top guys playing in overtime, I don't want the Benders doing the shootout because
we'd be
that
there
would
all
take
night.
too long.
Yeah, we'd be there all night. Hey, you can twist my arm, and I guess I'll extend Bender OT, but it's I'm just trying to be fair, but of course I would love it. So we'll see. We'll see what type of traction it gets from the rest of the Ivory Tower.
I think the fans want it. I think this is a fan-friendly league, so Ivory Tower also apparently sort of hates Benders. Now I know he gives me dirty looks all the time, but...
You're just low class. You're not part of the bourgeoisie.
I am not at all. So that is fair. So our next thing, the trade deadline has been set. December 15th, 11:59 p.m. That is the day before Week 15. Week 15 essentially is the start of the third round. So we really have what? We're 2 weeks in. We got 5 more weeks for before the trade deadline. So a lot of time for deals to be made.
Honestly, with that third rotation coming up and that trade deadline right there, you'll know before the third rotation starts whether you need to make a trade with your team or whether you're even in a playoff spot or out of a playoff spot. Don't get me wrong, this year we've had a lot of parity, especially after this past 2 weeks, but and some of the lower end teams have been winning more and some of the higher end teams have been losing back and forth, yada yada. But when it comes to the third go around, at that point you've got 6 games left. 6 games left, only 18 points available if you win every single one, which you're not going to because this league's got so much parity. So making a trade by then, that's fair. Could it even be pushed back farther so a trade has to happen sooner than that? I don't know. Again, that's an Ivory Tower move. I'm not a GM. I wouldn't have a vote on that, Troy. So
yeah, we kicked it around just a little bit. I think it just makes sense. After we've played 2 full circuits, you should have a pretty good idea about what your team is or isn't, and then it also gives enough time for the new team to kind of gel, and then it avoids any type of, not that anyone would do it, but you don't want to have the trade deadline 2 weeks before the end, so someone does some just crazy desperate trade for something stupid. So I think the timing makes sense, and it should be fun. It puts that little pressure, and we'll see if a deal gets done.
Yeah, it does seem like a logical point of putting the trade deadline, so I think it's a good move on there. Sam, any trade's going to happen this year? I feel like people thought, going into the year, trades would be flying all year long. Hasn't happened so far. Are people going to start pulling triggers anytime soon?
Honestly, I think that people are a lot of the teams are afraid to mess with something. I know the team I was on last year had a trade that they made thinking they had to make a trade, and it didn't really work out for us. Honestly, I December 15th I think is a good time. It is right before that. Though it is right before. Don't we have a couple game break right after that?
Yes.
Couldn't we just
when we look at the schedule, we have essentially the third round starts. We have 1 or 2 games, then Christmas starts. But I think when you look at how it works, if you make a trade, that new guy will be on the team to play everybody else. That's why I kind of think it's fair. In between there, we'll also have the All-Star Game and we'll have the skills competition as well. Vote Piercy 2019.
Isn't it 2020?
I think
No,
the
it's still
competition's going to be in
2019.
December. So
all right.
I personally have been hearing that there was a lot of chatter in this last week, possibly 3-team deals. The spicy one, do you have any comments on that?
I don't have any comments on it, but I also did hear there was a 3-team trade in the works. I also heard there was multiple 3-team trades in the works, one of which included one of the bottom end teams that is the bottom of the standings, and some other members in the league that are in the higher end. So you had a little bit of the rich get richer, maybe poor get poorer, and then things got nixed at the last minute. So
there's definitely some spice going on. I don't want to offend anyone's confidence, but there's some stuff going on. The other thing, Sam, it's like it's kind of like when someone gets laid off, they do it on Friday, so that there's not a scene at the office. So that trade deadline, then a 2-week break, it's kind of like a nice, even though it's a bad Christmas present.
This is a Serta move, isn't it?
But it's kind of like, hey, I'll see you in 3 weeks, bro.
This is a Serta move, isn't it? This is very calculated, business-like.
With a trade, though, it's either a good or a bad thing. You could be on a team that looks like it's going to be missing the playoffs, and all of a sudden, hey, you got traded, and all of a sudden you're on a team, we're in the playoffs, baby. And then you could be on a team who's like, oh, playoffs are locked. Now it's all of a sudden.
Oh, and then you get sent to Siberia. Yeah,
we got sent to Siberia, quack, 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 and we're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, I will say, and Hedis can speak to this, I don't mind giving away our own, secrets, but Ty and I, for all our reputations, good or bad, blah, 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 but we're extreme softies when it comes to, there was some talk going on.
No, yeah, you are.
There were some trades made that were probably beneficial towards the North Stars, but I'm like, I can't trade this guy. I love this guy, so we're kind of softies there. Now, ultimately, the decision was made for us because I'll just say there were multiple teams involved, and it kind of fell apart on its own volition. But it's tough. I feel I'm a loyal guy, and so if I would feel very bad shipping one of my guys off to the Ducks to die.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Busta, I hope you're listening. Put this on we'll make you a clip, put it up on the video screen before the game, get your guys fired up next time. But those are some harsh words over there, Troy.
That came across bad, but that did come across bad. But not so much the Ducks. The Ducks are great. Bus is great. Turtle's great. But to a last place team. I mean, to Piercy's point, it's like you're sitting here
to Deke Island, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it would just be a real bummer if you were sitting there on the American. Could you imagine if you were American or Seal? You're planning your first round bye in the playoffs, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, have fun with the Ducks, and it's like, man, that would be kind of deflating.
So, moving on to the pick'em standings right now. We'll just kind of go over them real quick. If you want to look at things, go to pick'em.mnlhl.com to see the full standings. But Dave P., Dylan, Troy, and Gio are our top 4 guys right now. This last week, we had Troy, Hedis, and Mr. Proctor with a perfect week getting that extra bonus point. Dave P., Mr. Cocky and Slack, here's your picks if you want the perfect week.
Did he go 0-3 or 1-2?
He got 1 point this week. Okay. So he had a nice padded lead, and all of a sudden he's kind of back down to a 1-point lead. So anybody's still in it. There's a lot of guys within that 15-point range. When you have someone like Dave P getting 1 point, get that perfect week, you're going to jump right back in it quick. Keep those going. So far, I think it's been a pretty good response within the league.
Yeah, it's fun, and it's nice that Dave P didn't run away with it there. That was kind of, I think Dave P, if he wasn't subbing for the Nordiques, probably would have pulled the trigger on the Tigers, but he's a good man. He was subbing for the Deeks, so he got on board and then gave the rest of us a chance.
Yeah, I mean, you can never pick against the team you're playing for. And some of the guys that do in this league, we've been through this topic before, but not to run it dry, but if you're playing for a team, you're subbing for a team, I feel like you got to choose your thing. That's a gentlemanly thing to do. And he always does when he subs, so that's good. Good on him.
We're not going to stay too long on this subject, but I will stay 2 Nordiques picked against themselves this last week.
Well, anyone? We know one of them. Anyone interest in anyone besides?
You know what that sounds like? Sounds like red light trade district to me.
I think all the picks are public at pick'em.mnlhl.com.
Okay.
I think it was a bunch of Clausen guys. I'll say that. So let's move on to the games. Our first game of the night was the Golden Seals versus the North Stars. First place at the time, Golden Seals 2. The North Stars 4. I don't know which one of you guys want to give a quick summary of the game just for a little bit of notice.
Americans, you're welcome.
Just for a little bit of notice, we're going to skip actually going over sub for sub. If we talk about a sub during our kind of recap, it's fine, but it takes a little bit long. We got feedback about that. So
I'll be very brief, and then I'll turn it over to Hedis, because Hedis was fired up. We were all fired up. It's rare. Usually the North Stars are the ones providing bulletin board material for other teams, and it was interesting to kind of get a sense of being on the other side of that and how it actually does motivate you. I mean, I actually clipped a few things today. I also put it on in our North Stars private channel, kind of I think Whoop said something like, there'll be no tricks, there'll be no, whatever the hell it was, So we came out and we were fired up, and we took it to them, and we played like a team that needed to win more, and we got the W. So it's always nice to get the first goal of the game. You just feel good. Then they tied it up, and then we got up 3-1. It was just a nice game. But I just want to say, without the going over the goals or anything like that, but the North Stars definitely took our lumps at the beginning of the year. We've talked about it before, like every team kind of has their 10 or 11 chess pieces, and it's just how do you make the most optimum use of those chess pieces. And we were a mess at the beginning. We went through a shit ton of lineups in preseason and the first couple weeks, but I think just moving Judge back to D kind of calmed everything down for us. It helped us keep the puck out of the net, helped us get out of our zone. And we only have Judge and Suits are our two superstars. And then after that, we just got a bunch of guys that are, working hard, have accepted their roles. Like I can't say enough good things about Math. Like, he kind of lets Judge do what Judge does, and Math is just the trusty guy to stay behind. Me and Sikorsky can't skate at all, but we try very, very hard. We play positionally sound. We back check, and we're hot right now. So not going to say anything more than that about the North Stars. Seals are a great team. All credit to them. It was nice to score on Dylan. He was getting a little cocky, so it was nice to just, show that he was human. And but the Seals are a great team. They'll be first place, second place.
Dylan can take those double pistols. I know you're watching. You can holster those puppies, baby. Because I'm Dylan Bane. Apparently, I'm 2-1 against Dylan right now. And yes, I'm counting that sub game against the Ducks.
Real quick before you go on, I just want to state that the Whalers, the Seals haven't beat us either. So for all that cockiness, you don't deserve to be cocky against us. You haven't beat at least 3 of us in this room as of yet. The last time you played us, so wow. But anyways, let's continue your.
Anyway, so I just felt good to play Dylan, and like Troy said, take the bulletin board material and just run with it. Anytime anyone chirps things in Slack, I love it because I take that and it goes on week reminder. And I told Kimmel that last time we beat the Deeks. I was like, I can't remember what he said. He said something about the North Stars are underneath the jock strap and the power rankings. I was like, oh yeah, really? Let's bulletin board material that. And the day before in the gym, just Kimmel just pumping out sets. But it was great. It felt good winning, and I mean we're at the momentum right now. I mean we've got 3 wins in a row. We're going in next week against the Tigers with an all-star Matt Taylor back. So you only can focus on one game at a time. And I felt like we focused really well against the Seals. When it came to the game, it's the actual gameplay itself. They, I guess the fans at home could disagree with me, but from my vision in the net, I think that we outshot the Seals in the first 2 periods, and we out-controlled the Seals, the puck possession wise in the first 2 periods, probably 55-45. It wasn't a ton, but it was enough. But they did get their chances, especially with towards the end of the game, the last about 8 minutes left, when we were just playing that 2-2-1 kind of sit back pressure system, dump the puck deep, kill time sort of game plan, and eventually it kind of bit us in the butt. The Skillman standing in the crease got that tip on me, so they fought back some. It'll be interesting to see how they bounce back next week against the Mighty Duckies, because the Ducks got a big game themselves next week against them. So
now, Sam, I know you were playing on the other rink, but this being the first game, did you get any time to watch any of this?
No, I only caught about a minute of that game, and it was right at the end, so I didn't really see anything. Actually, I came in and the game was over, and someone had messed with the scoreboard, so I was assuming it was going to overtime because it said 3-3. So I had no idea what was going on. I'm like, is that right? And they're like, no, don't worry about it.
Yeah, as someone who didn't have a game last night so they could pay attention, I actually thought the North Stars outplayed the Seals by quite a bit. you guys had more chances, more quality chances. Not saying that the Seals didn't have quality or have some chances, but to me, the shots were probably heavier on the North Stars, more shots. Like you said before, the third period, the Seals were able to rally a little bit, but outside of that, it was almost like that whole dessert swarm. We got our goal, we got the lead. We're gonna now push stuff in. We're gonna make sure you come in, but we kind of have a ring around stuff, and we're not gonna let you near the goalie. If you're gonna get a shot off, you're either gonna hit it off one of us, or you're gonna have a nice view for that goalie where they're not quality chances.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't score on it. But Judge connected with Suits, I think 3 times where he sprung Suits for breakaways and he wasn't able to finish. So it's kind of like that first line kind of does their thing, and then me and Sikorsky were just out there trying to survive, and we play a very non-pretty dump and chase. But that was the game plan. I mean, we're not going to skate through Fister or Shawnee or Rattler or Pellet, so we just kind of got pucks deep. And the one goal that the grind line was able to scrap up, well, actually 2, Crunk backhanded one in, but Crunk actually forechecked McShannock, cough it up. Sikorsky hit me for a pass, and boom. But that was our game plan was, get pucks. I mean, it's simple.
Yeah, that was interesting because Crunk's goal, I swear it was Judge's, but everybody else say it isn't. Whoop, he did not play that play well. He fell on his ass, I believe, on that goal, which, that sucks and all. But, glad to see Crunk get one in as well.
Yeah, Crunk had a good game. Whether it's a goal and an assist or 2 assists, Crunk had a nice night, and he's getting better each week. So just, part of the resurgence of the North Stars. So, but I thought the Seals, I mean, they're going to be good. I think we did kind of put a little bit of a roadmap on how to beat them. Like they have their forwards are like that Fister, Shawnee, and Skillman line. I mean, that's a legit line. And then Rattler and Pellet on the second line are good. But, if you kind of make their and a lot of teams in this league fall into this category, but if you make their defensemen, play the puck, like they will turn it over. And that happened quite a bit last night.
Yeah, and we'll get to that a little bit more during power rankings and standings. So moving on to the next game, we have the Nordiques versus the Tigers. The Tigers pulled it off with a 4-3 win on their side. Watching this game, Nordiques came out firing. They scored a goal with like 30 seconds into the game. Andy Fem had a hat trick, but it was close back and forth the whole game. Matt Lepudre had a goal off the start. Bad turnover by the Deeks as well that sprung Matt Taylor for a goal. And I think Chris Taylor had a goal. I forget who the last goal was. It might have been Skillman. I don't know. We could use score sheets for that to be 100% there. Other side, like I said, Andy Fem had all those goals. Did make me laugh. Your brother Ty, bad pass. Matt Taylor intercepts for a breakaway on the goal. He tried to give 2 assists to people on that goal. I did shoot it down and say no because that was pretty obvious. The ref came over afterwards and laughed at Ty and said don't listen to him as well, which I thought made a sign for a good ref on that side of things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sam was playing the other side.
Oh, okay.
And I was me and Hedis were scorekeeping on the other side. So I guess I didn't get to watch any of the game. I came over and watched the last 3 minutes. I saw Pete had a chance in the slot to tie it up, and I think he shot it wide or something like that. But what was the flow? Was it an even game? Did the Tigers dominate? Like how was the flow of the game? It
was a pretty good game overall. I would say slight advantage to the Tigers, but I'd say it was like a 47-53 type matchup. Gotcha. Good back and forth. Like we said, Andy Fem got those 3 goals, which is very nice. One thing, I remember going back to the North Stars game, you had a nice acting job on a penalty that someone committed that you fell on, which was brutal. Everybody on the sidelines kind of reacted. I don't know how you got away with that penalty.
Well, that was earned earlier, and we talked about this after with Whoop. It's like earlier in the game, there was a loose puck, and Judge completely angled off. I don't know if it was Shawnee.
It was Shawnee.
Or
He was ahead of Shawnee.
Yeah.
He beat Shawnee to the puck, and Shawnee just got bumped a little bit, and then he did like the Shawnee face, and the referee was like, "Here's a penalty."
So that was a very soft call against Judge. I mean, he properly interference is like if you check the guy and the puck's not there, but Judge angled him off, kept skating, played on the puck, and then they called that on Judge. So we didn't agree with that call. I'm just answering the question as how I got the call, but we gave little Joe quite the earful on the bench after that one, and then the Seals scored on that power play to tie it up 1-1. So we felt like Joey, kind of owed us one. And then on that particular play, I did not fake the contact. It was Alan Z, and I might have even initiated the contact, but the contact was real. And Alan Z's a, handsome, well-built man, and I did fall down. I didn't even fake the fall down. Now, on my way down, I did throw the hands up in the air and drew the call, and then Krunk scored on the power play. But as far as bad power play goals, it was an equal cancel 1-1. I'm guilty as charged, but they got a cheap one. We got a cheap one.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna call Shawnee's penalty, you got to call the one on Troy. And there could have been a couple others as well if you're gonna go ticky tacky, that kind of penalty calling style as a ref. But after those two calls, I felt they just opened it back up to how it was, and there wasn't really any penalties throughout the game. And even those two, frankly, weren't penalties. But
we know there's been some light calls this year. I just wanted to congratulate you on the Oscar job.
I was proud of myself. I mean, I drew the call. I think Rattler was giving me shit. But it's I'll take it. If you can get a power play for your team, I'll do it. I'd do it 10 more times.
Oh, we have everybody in the chat here. Shout out to Ty, Fister, and Binner. Let's go, boys. Everyone's watching today.
Yeah, real quick. Fister is such a gentleman, too. He really is, before the game, during the game, after that. During the game, he's oh, that was a good play. He's just such a nice guy. After the game, he puts a nice note out on Slack congratulating the North Stars, sends me a private message saying that was a real good game. You guys came on fire. He's just such a nice guy. And it's not fake. It's genuine. I can't say enough nice things about Fister.
Yeah, it's always tough in these games where we don't have someone representing a game, so it's hard to say that. I would like to say thanks Sawokis for teaching me how to enable and disable the penalty clock, because I know how to put a penalty in, but it was I stop it and the clock stops, and I'm just what the hell's going on? And he's just you fucking idiot, you got to press this button. I'm
yep.
Thank you.
Lesson
so I was
learned.
happy about it, so I learned that. But next game on the list, we have the Americans versus the Mighty Ducks. The Americans with the win 3-2. Mr. Sam Mackey, I'm going to have you do the play-by-play or the recap of this game.
All right, that's fair. I was involved in it. This game wasn't a sprint; it was a marathon. We were down 1-0, we were down 2-1. That first goal against, we didn't look very good out there for that entire shift. We looked very lazy, and that was in the first period, so it was kind of concerning. But in the end, we outshot them like crazy. I remember at one point, Sips on the bench goes to me, looks at the shot totals and is that accurate? And
yes, it was.
It was accurate.
The final total was 40 shots, 4 for the Americans, and I think 17 or 18 for the Ducks.
I mean, Hedis and I were tracking them. Is there a margin of error there?
Of course.
Yes, but it
much.
was definitely 2-1. 2-1 in favor of the Americans for shots, for sure.
Yeah, and the game felt good. I mean, I can only talk about myself, but coming back, it's been to be fair, didn't really have a ton of stamina to begin with, but after coming back after 12 weeks away, that's coming back. The hockey sense, whatever that is there, is coming back too. I can really say it felt better out there than it has been.
I will say this about Sam Mackey. Obviously there's more gifted skaters in the league, but Sam, he's in the right spot. More times than not. When he's right wing, he's at the wall. And I don't want Sam to get too cocky here, but at the end of the game, the Ducks were pressing, and Serta and Maki engaged in a battle at the blue line, and Maki undressed Serta and stole the puck from him. And Sammy had 2 golden opportunities on the doorstep. I don't know how they didn't go in.
I was just about to say that.
One
According to Bin 12, Nick Matt, Sammy should have had 2 snipes. I'm sure he didn't sleep well last night.
The first one got me worse than the other one.
The first one, there was some net to shoot at.
Oh, man, it was wide open. I'm not even sure how it happened. He must have gotten a piece of it because he sat down on it like a mother duck. It was ridiculous.
Quack, quack.
And then the second one, I think, was more just a standard, like, bang, threw it out in front, bang, bang. But I think, like, Ryan Z was there. But that first one, I'm like, this is... Do you have a official Monday Night Lights goal? 1, 2, 7? How many do you have?
Officially?
In a sanctioned regular season game?
No.
Okay.
Bender Bowl is my only goal in Monday Night Lights.
Well, this one, I mean, and I will say too, this wasn't like a Sammy, like a flubber. You got good wood on that. Like from my perspective, like it was good contact. I'm like, this is in. I still don't know how he saved it.
I went to go check just to be sure.
Yeah.
And for the record, Sam Mackey, he's had a couple hot streaks on the K-Falcons, and you've scored goals before. So it's not like
it's not like I'm a stranger to it.
It's not like treat Sam with like he scores a goal, it's everybody rush him like type of thing. He's got goals in his career. He can put them home.
I think a lot of people would rush me. I'm kind of a fan favorite.
I was gonna say, Pierce, you could. I mean, let's be honest. If Sam scores a goal, there will be a lot of fanfare. That doesn't mean he's never scored one before.
The Slayer.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that.
That has nothing to do with hockey.
Yo, let the fans know.
I will say also that Sam looks just the last time I set eyes on this, I saw him a couple of times, but he talked about the IQ coming back, the hands coming back. He looks good. He looks healthy. It was scary, even though he delivered the best man speech of all time. We've already gone over that. But he was not looking healthy that day.
No, I was feeling really... Like, the moment I got back to that hospital room, I vomited. I was not feeling good.
Yeah. Well, you look good.
I did want to ask you your thoughts on the Ducks' second goal, because I believe at that time it was 1-1 in the second period, and they got a goal, and some Americans had said it was offsides. Some fans from outside the rink said it was offsides, and then there's another fan outside the rink that said it was onsides. I didn't know how you guys kind of reacted to that on the bench, going down 2-1 against the lowly Ducks, quote unquote. I say that with quotes because the parity in the league. But you guys go down 2-1, and then you're playing the rest of the game, kind of chasing the game. You ended up winning. I mean, how'd you guys feel about that goal?
I know that. We didn't feel good about it, but I'm pretty sure it was onside, just because, like, from where I was watching it, it never really went over. Mm-hmm. From the bench, I could definitely see how you would, mistake that for being off. But we just kept going. We didn't even. I don't recall a lot of grousing or anything like that. We were just like, keep pounding away.
Yeah, I did see the momentum. That's good. I mean, I guess you guys are. There's a reason why you're in first place, right?
Absolutely.
Now, Sam, we know that we love the Twitch crowd, and we have a chat going on. So we have a question from the chat. Can you please comment on your brother's gray hair situation? The man's been married for only a month or two, and he looks like he's been the POTUS for 8 years.
Both him and my other brother have always had more gray hair than I have.
There's another Maki running around?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
He's a little older than us.
Was he at the wedding?
What
I
a
wasn't even
development.
addressed to this.
Yeah, he was there.
I wasn't even introduced to this man.
He
this
actually
is
looks like he's
mind-blowing.
athletic.
Really?
He did last time I saw him.
No, I can't really talk about what kind of genes are involved there, because I was under the impression that Charles and I had the same genes, same soul. You know how it goes. I have a little bit, but I don't know. I don't know what to say about that.
Pookie can be tough.
Hey, marriage is not an easy thing. The whole thing there, so it's understandable. People always ask me, wait, how do you look so young? I'm single and I don't have kids.
There you
That's
go.
the answer there. I'm waiting for a gray hair to pop up soon. I have a couple on the chin starting, so I'm not 100% there. But Troy, you were keeping score for this last game with the Americans and the Ducks. What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, I give credit to the Ducks for keeping it interesting. They were up 1-0. They were up 2-1. But you just kind of had this feeling, just because of the shot totals, that just a matter of the time before the Americans were going to get there. Ryan Z played great. It's always goalie is such a hard position because the dude made 40-some saves. I do think that the game tying goal that Proctor kind of came in from an angle and Z kind of crumpled. And I don't know if this is kind of because of his knee injury, but he kind of didn't go. It didn't look pretty, and then somehow it kind of got in there. That tied it up at 2. And then I think it was then Antioch from the point. That was just a nice play, Proctor to Antioch. So, I mean, the better team won. That's not to say that the Ducks didn't give it a good effort. I was happy to see Bauer get on the scoreboard. That was a nice tip, I believe. I think Rubel shot it and Bauer tipped it in front. I didn't see the Ducks' first goal because it must have been pretty early in the game.
Yeah,
because I came in with like 12 minutes left and it was already 1-0 Ducks. But the better team, the better team won. I was a little bit, I don't want to say low, but I was a late believer in the Americans. At first it was okay. They're just subbing up every week because they're out 5 people and then they're subbing up. So I'm like, first was the subs. Then it's like, well, Sammy's out. Surely when Sammy comes back, they'll be horrible, but then they proved that curse wrong. Then it was like, well, Wilkie gets to sub, for Sips, and then that allows them to do what they want with their lineup. And so then Sips came back, and the Americans are still great. So Simonelli looked great on defense. So I'm a believer in the Americans. I just think they're the deepest, best team. Plus they got J-Flow and net. Plus they got Proctor. So to me, the Americans are going to be the team to beat from here on out. I've been high on the Seals, and I still am. But the Americans have proved me believers.
Yeah, so moving on to the power rankings real quick. This is the OFP power rankings by Mr. Troy Otto. We're going to go through them, just talk about then what we agree or disagree with.
Go ahead. Sorry, I just completely cut you off.
Okay, the Americans are number 1, followed by the Tigers at 2. Actually, a tie Tigers and the North Stars are both ranked number 2. Seals are at 4. 5 are the Whalers. 6 are the Nordiques, followed by 7 in the Ducks. I'll go first here. I don't really have a problem with, I'm going to even say the top 3. The North Stars did beat the Whalers. I actually have a problem with the Seals at 4. I feel like they're a 5. I think I said it a week or 2 ago. The Seals were one of the least impressive teams I thought we played. I wasn't impressed by the team. We beat them there. We beat them. So to me, they should be down on 5. Whalers should be at 4. Everything else, I'm cool with. Sam, what do you think of these rankings?
I think it's a little soon to put the North Stars at number 2. No offense, you two, but you guys are, started slow. You're knocking off, you're a giant killer right now, knocking off the Seals, but, I don't know how much to attribute that to, the bulletin board or just hashtag chaos team or whatever you want to call it. But I think I'd still put the Seals ahead of you guys.
The tricky part, that's why the power rankings are tricky. Everyone has their spin on it. But if you're how can we just beat the Seals? How can I rank them in front of us? You know what I mean? It's like, because it's a snapshot in time, and it's not like they outshot us 75-10 and we just beat them 1-0 because Hedis was awesome. It's like we were up 3-1, we were up the whole game. So, and that's not just us, but it's hard to rank a team that just beat someone head to head and then put them behind them in this week's power rankings. And it's a 3-game winning streak. It's not like it's just one lucky win. We're kind of, so I've been, I think, pretty fair on the North Stars power rankings all year. We've been down at the bottom 6 or 7 most of the season. So I think if any other team was on a 3-game win streak, I'd jump them up there pretty high. So
hey, look, we're kings of the North, baby. I don't care. I think your power rankings are wrong. We're number 1 with 3-game winning streak. In my mind, it's a weekly. It's based on a weekly performance. And then you get a multiple based on how many wins you've gotten, or if it's a quality loss and a point from the week prior. So if X is a value, let's say X is 10%, just as an example, not that it is, that's 3 weeks in a row. So that's 30% times whatever your win is. That's your quality, right? And that, at my mind, if you get a point, let's say you got 2 wins and you have a shootout loss, that's kind of similar, same thing. Maybe it's 2 10% and a 5%. Those are just examples. I don't know exact numbers. I'm not sitting here with standard deviation, measuring p values here within a curve. All right. But my point being, to me right now, the only 2 teams I consider in first or second place based on this past week's winnings and what they've done is the Americans, the Tigers, and the North Stars. And for me, because we're on a 3-game winning streak exactly, I'd put us at number 1, and then the Americans and the Tigers at 2 and 3 respectively.
Now, Troy, I will ask you this because you left the room real quick when I said it. I think you have the Seals too high.
Yeah, I heard you say that. But it's hard. They're in second place in they're second place overall in the standings, and I know that's where it gets tricky when you try to do the head to head, because if you it just doesn't work. If you look just at the Whalers and Seals head to head, it's okay, but then the Seals probably beat a bunch of other teams that you guys lost to. So I did feel bad dropping the Whalers. They were on a bye and to go all the way down to 5. So none of this is rocket science. It's just kind of a feel thing. So I think the Seals have been one of the better teams the entire year. Obviously, they haven't impressed you too much, but they're second in the standings. So to drop them all the way down to 5, I think would have been too far. So that's how I went about it. And then us and the Tigers, like if we weren't playing next week, I might have tried to make a distinction between the two, but I always like to throw the old, it's an easy cop out for me. It's like if they're playing each other the next week, just make it a tie, and we'll settle it on the ice. And I don't want to fire up these Tigers. I'm going to try to sneak. I mean, Hedis is being the rah guy for it, so I don't even have to.
I'm already fired up. Matt Taylor's
I'm trying to
on
lay in wake,
Now,
Matt Taylor plays on Wednesdays. I'm already fired up. I'm ready for that matchup. Let's go, boys. Let's go.
Speaking of the standings right now, we have the Americans in first place, 17 points. Seals at 15, Tigers 12, 11 for the North Stars, followed by the Whalers and the Nordiques at 10, and the Mighty Ducks at 6. For the record, every team has played 8 games except for the Tigers and the Whalers, who have played 7 games, so they're 1 game behind people, so they have some points they could easily make up. I think the big thing here right now is the Ducks, they're 4 points out. That's over a game back. Do they need to make a move, and how quick? Well, they probably need to make a move, but do they have to make a move now? Do they wait for Turtle to come back? What should they do? Sam, your thoughts?
They have the Seals next week. It almost feels like panic mode, but you don't want to. I mean, you don't want to get taken advantage of when you're shopping around. Do you have any idea when Turtle's expected to come home?
I think he's like it was a 6-week absence, and I think he's halfway through. So
Yikes.
I think best case scenario he's back in
Thanksgiving time frame.
Not this Monday, not next Monday, but the Monday after. I think that's best case.
I don't think you want to wait for him to come back.
No,
then you only have
like a week before the trade deadline.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like when he's going to come back. It's like you get your reinforcements, but you get him like a week before the trade deadline, and then you have like just 6 games left to try to snatch some points from the jaws of the league there. So that's kind of tough to kind of deal. So maybe I don't know. Maybe if you're the Ducks, you can go another game or two and see how it pans out. Because granted, they did beat the Seals last time they played the Seals. So I mean, it's not all hopeless town in the Ducksville there, but it's definitely a tall order for the Seals because they'll be ready next week as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first. I think I pointed it out in the power ranking. So this is the first time, and because of their loss coupled with our win, this is the first time whether us or the Ducks where they're more than 3 points out of the 6th place spot. So it's definitely like concerning. When you're sitting there with like 9 points and someone's at like 11, you're like, okay, if we win regulation and they don't, we jump them. Now it's like you need a minimum of 2 weeks to make up ground. So you are definitely entering panic time. And to Sam's point last year with like the Americans, they kind of panicked and made a trade. The problem that you have when you're, and trust me, this was the North Stars 3 weeks ago. When you're in last place, your players don't have trade value, because they're like, you guys just lose. Not that they don't have some, but their value is kind of naturally deflated. And when you're winning, everyone looks good when you're winning. So they're in a tough spot because you don't want to just make a trade for the sake of making a trade.
Yeah, I think we've all faced the same situation when it comes to fantasy sports in general. Your team's bad. People try to pick players off left and right. It's like, what do you do? I think everybody gave the Americans a lot of crap last year for making a couple bad trades, but at the end of the day is they knew their team was in trouble. We have to do something. Is it better to do something than nothing? Because if we do nothing, we know we're going down with the ship anyways.
Yeah, and I don't think the trade at the time, I don't think I think it was not good for the Americans, but it didn't turn out to be horrible. It's not like they played any. I mean, I don't think their record after the trade was any worse than it was before. But going back to the Ducks, though, and not trying to pick on them, but there's a middle ground that they haven't tried. The frustrating part from the Ducks before you do a trade, they haven't really done any experimentation with their lineup. Like, for me, we've talked about it before, but if I'm the Ducks, what they're doing is not working. It's close, but it's not working. Mm-hmm. They have one line. They have the Sugar, Bin, and Busta line. And then their second line, unless someone's been subbing for them, just hasn't, produced. So me, if I were the GM of the Ducks, whether it's Turtle or whoever subs for Turtle, that's a nice player. If you put that So if you put Turtle and Bin and Busta on the top line, they're going to be fine. And then Sugar is a good enough player that he can run the second line by himself. And I know that would be breaking up the Sugar and Bin, and they've been successful. But to me, you got to try something different. You can't just lose every week. Yeah. So Bauer and Turtle just isn't enough oomph to really get it done. Or if it was last night, I think it was Peso and Bauer. But if you put Sugar, maybe Sugar's big enough boost that Bauer can do something. So I would definitely, if I'm a Duck, try something different or move Rubel up front. I know they don't have a lot of flexibility, but you got to do something. You can't just keep rolling out the same thing every week and getting the same result. So I would look for that shakeup if they would take my advice. Now, maybe since I've said it, they won't do it, but I think they got to try something new.
A couple players in their team has been told that before by some outside Monday Night Lights insider sources as well. So you're not the first person to echo that here on the podcast. I think the biggest thing is for the Ducks is in the next 2 weeks they play the Seals next week and they have a bye, and then after that it's the Deeks having the second to last bye. So if next week if they lose against the Seals, and then they have a bye week after that, and the Deeks were to win again, arguably they could be by the basement with a game at hand, but they could be like 9 points back, which would be huge. So I also want to touch on a little bit on the Deeks situation because we're all talking about the Ducks here, but they're only the Ducks are only 2 games back of the Deeks point wise, and the Deeks are on a 3-game losing streak. And if you remove the goals that the Deeks have scored this past game, 3 goals from Andy Fem, and then the 5-goal anomaly against us in the first game of the season when we have tie in defense, they've got 6 goals this entire season scored. That is not enough in Monday Night Lights to win a game, let alone get points out of games. So that might be a team that maybe it's not the rich and the poor trading this season. Maybe it's more of a mix your red and blue and get purple between 2 bottom end teams to try to get some scoring happening or there's some different pairings happening on the Ducks and the Deeks. But I think those 2 teams might be in the next couple of weeks here be looking for some trades or some lineup switches to try to.
To me, when you look at it is. Especially the North Stars, I'd say are probably out of this group. But if you look at the Whalers, Nordiques, and Mighty Ducks, you have 9, 14, 15 goals. There's scoring issues there. So the hard part is when I look at the Nordiques, I like their scoring options. You have Gio, Kimmel, you have Andy Fem, and you have Pistol. All good options. I don't like their defense. I think their forwards have to back check a lot. Not to say they don't have a lot of good guys back there on defense, but there are a lot of mid-level to lower-level bender guys where if you had them with a good guy, they'd be there. But as far as holding those down, that worries me. Cohn's been playing good this year. He's been holding them up a lot, and those forwards have had to back check a little bit extra there. So to me, when you're looking at that scoring, it's like you're saying their scoring's low is
1.75 goals a game.
I don't see you trading. No offense to anybody. Obviously, Pandy, it's going to be hard to trade him for someone who's going to score with him being injured. But then, Swokas, Dougie Fresh, Brennan, how are you going to trade one of those guys for someone who can score?
Yeah. Well, I have some comments on the Nordiques, but I'd like to hear Sammy first. See what he, if you were Panny for a day, what were are you just content? It's all overblown. It's just injuries. You have a little bit of concern, or what are your thoughts on the Deeks? You're a trusted Panny. Panny respects your opinion, so give him a little advice to your buddy.
I'm not so sure about that, but honestly, I've played fantasy football with Panny, and I don't trust him when he tries to make a trade.
He's the worst. He's the
worst. I think I don't think he should make a move at this point in time. Like you were saying, Kohner is doing his job. Maybe move things around. He's been paying attention to all those games. Like he's always with his team during every single game. He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Honestly, I haven't watched. I've only seen one game of his, honestly.
Well, of their 14 goals, Fem and Pete have 9 of their 14 goals. So that's literally 2/3 of their team's production between 2 players.
Yeah.
They're good together.
They are, but Gio and Kimmel, if you're looking for a team that's not scoring or doing enough, Gio and Kimmel kind of have to start, putting their stick to action here.
I have some strong opinions on the Deeks that I put out there. So one had us hit on earlier, which is the team that they drafted. Like they wanted to draft their team, and they drafted it, and that's good if it goes well. But if it doesn't, like they're kind of locked in. They drafted their top 4 forwards, then they drafted their 4 defensemen, and then they drafted Drago and Wright. Okay, so there's not a ton of flexibility there. All they have been doing is kind of, do I do Andy and Pete, or do I do Pete and Kimmel, or blah blah blah. But the injuries are outside of their control. You know, the Brennan injury and the Panty. But I don't think that's had a huge effect on the productivity. So my off the wall idea would be to take advantage of this Panty injury, and you bring in a Pellet or an Ite. Pellet and Ite are undisputed better skaters than Panty. Okay, but they're not necessarily defensemen. So. And Pete's not going to go back.
He's been playing defense the last couple of weeks, and he's looked good. So I would say he can be a defenseman.
Yes, he can. But that would be just more of the status quo. So to take a page out of our book, like I said earlier, like we kind of, and this also agrees with you, Piercy, it's like when we moved Judge back to defense, it settled everything down for us. It's like not only does it help keep the puck out of your net, but it helps you get out of your zone. Okay, and then you're out of your zone, and then you're playing offense. So my kind of off the wall idea, and I think he has played defense before, way back in season 1 for the North Stars a little bit, would be to move Kimmel back to defense. So then you sub in a Pellet, okay, and Pellet's kind of an energy grind liner on the second, and then maybe a Kimmel can create offense from like the back end. I'm not saying it would solve everything, but it's a kind of an out of the box idea. He's the only one of their. Gio's not a defenseman. Pete's not a defenseman. Andy Fem. Correct. So if you wanted to take advantage of this injury situation and get a skater, like how big of a drop off is it if you got Ite or Pellet out there grinding on the second line, that and then Kimmel creating some offense from the back end, I think it'll help because the Nordiques defensemen, like they're all good, but none of them are great. Like they don't have a defenseman that's gonna, Sukas every once in a while gets it go, but once a game he'll rush the puck, but he's not a consistent, he's not a great skater like a Judge or a Rubel or a Star, So I think that maybe shaking it up might be something that they would look into.
Yeah, it's tough because I don't see anybody doing trades where you're trading a high-end defenseman to try to split your team up into like you're not trading a quarter for 2 dimes to try to like improve a defensive position and then have a decent forward. You're not going to get those deals going. So the Nordiques with the Whalers, even though we're 1 less game behind, I mean, I'm pretty much right now. If I'm either one of those teams, I'm just hoping that the Ducks continue to flounder and we find our way for either of them because I've seen the Nordiques have actually played a lot better than I thought so far from what their team was drafted as. I don't think they're totally lost. I think we're a little bit wrong in them, 0 points in whatever game. I think they had a couple ties or points is that side of things. So I think there is hope, and I think they can still get their game together. I think the Panty thing is hard just because you're never going to know what you're bringing in, what your opportunity is. It's really hard to say, like, I need you to sub every week for me type of thing, where especially once we get later in the year, if the Whalers are having trouble in that playoff range, it might be like, hey, let's not sub 9 o'clock games if we're the Whalers or we're any team fighting for that battle because it's like we want to be fresh. We don't want to hurt ourselves. All of a sudden, that could really screw over the Nordiques. It's not like you're being a jerk to do it, but you have to think you're a team first.
Sure. And I'm not putting my critiques for the Deeks are just kind of ideas to spur the offense. Like the Deeks are in a very good position. I don't think they're sitting here like sweating making the playoffs. But as far as just trying to maybe try something, different to get the offense going. The other little subtle thing that I made light of, but I've talked about it with Gio, with Grandma Gio as well. When I drafted Gio, I was like, my criticism of Gio is he'd come in with a bunch of speed. He's a left-hand shot, and then he would just come down and he'd settle for a shot from distance, And I talked about getting the Ferrari dirty, and I'm joking, but I'm serious. Like, I played him on right wing. So then you're playing on your off wing, and it kind of so if you want to go to your forehand, it forces you to go to the center of the ice. So I've talked to Gio about that, and I think that's one little factor to kind of get him going is play him on his off wing. That's like Peso loves playing
Yeah,
He's a
that's
right-hand shot. He loves playing on the left side, and then he can kind of do his little. He's trying to get to the center to get to the slot. So that's a little tweak that I think that they can make. Because let's face it, like whether Wright or Drago play right wing or left wing, it doesn't really matter. They're going to play their game, which is kind of the muck it up and go to the front of the net. But I think that little tweak, the Geo tweak, playing on his offhand, and then if you wanted to really get crazy, maybe move Kimmel to D when those games that you have Ait or Pellet available to sub for you.
And actually, that's the big thing that when we had the draft, me and Ben talking about it, I did set during that, which we lost, unfortunately, as I said I didn't like, is I thought when they were drafting their essentially 3 defensemen because Panny was already capped, I thought they should have drafted another forward in there and waited an extra round to get that last one. Maybe like a Math might not have been there, but get that late defensive guy, because I think someone like a Kimmel, he needs to be set up. He needs to be put in the right position. I think when you only have essentially a 2-man crew doing that, it's harder for that. Where if you could have gotten someone a little bit higher in that Dougie Fresh, Suokis area to kind of go into a line like a Pete, a Kimmel, and someone else who's more that 4th, 5th, 6th round area, that's where Kimmel's going to excel.
Yeah,
Kimmel needs to be put in the slot. He needs to shoot it, but he's not able to do that as much because of his setup.
I had a question about that because I didn't watch the game, and obviously Andy Fem did all the scoring. But to your point, Vape, I think Vape and Kimmel play together, and Vape is more of a compliment because he's someone who can actually get Kimmel the puck. So I was kind of surprised that thought maybe that would get Kimmel going, because Andy and Pete, they're north-south players. I mean, they're going as fast as they can, north-south. They're not super creative. They're just different. They go at a very high rate of speed, and that's why they play well together. But Kimmel's not at that kind of speed level. And then Gio, same thing. Like Gio's not. He's a finisher. Gio's a scorer. He's not known for. It's not to say he's like a selfish player, but Gio's not known for his assists. Gio's known for putting the puck in the net. So you have kind of 3 guys that none of them are great compliments to Kimmel.
Well, the problem too is with me, Dave P. His scoring has been up in the last year a little bit. He's a sleeper MVP in my book because I got to say that about him. But at the same time,
Sam's face.
Don't know what he's talking about.
But at the same time, he's not that threat. To me, Kimmel, you said you got to feed him the puck. You need a guy who's a threat like an Andy Fem and another guy to pass it to who's a threat to give Kimmel that opening. When I'm looking at a Dave P and a Kimmel, I know I'm going to let my one guy go one-on-one versus him, and I'm going to be watching Kimmel and I'm going to be guarding him tight. Where against another team, if you have, like we had the J-Flow, Shawnee, Kimmel line,
sure,
you got to leave some space on Kimmel. You give him that puck open, he's going to fire it. But in the way that situation is, people are going to be tight, staying on Kimmel, not giving him that room to snipe that home.
Yeah. But the Nordiques will never have that option because with the Drago, unless you're going to play Drago and Right on the same. The only teams that have the ability to play 3, kind of non-benders together are the Seals, and the Whalers. You know,
and that's exactly why I said I did not like their draft, where they should have picked another forward sooner.
But if they wouldn't have, when they picked 9th or 10th, there was no defenseman. I guess Neville would have been the only one, and they've been playing him as forward, but Neville would have been the only one available to the Deeks in that 9th round that could play defense.
Well, I guess here's my next superlative. I don't know how close we are to wrapping it up, but I guess I'll ask Mackie, since me and him have kind of let the Troy and Piercy show go on here about Kimmel's love for the Deeks. But if you're in the Whalers position, because they have the same points as the Deeks, right? You guys both have 10 points.
Game in hand for the Whalers.
Game in hand with the Whalers.
Piercy likes to point out.
But they play next week, right, Sam? So it's the Whalers Deeks next week. They're both playing. If the Ducks win and one of them lose, Ducks are now they have going into the bye week, only a point behind, and they're a bee's dick away from either the Whalers or Deeks, depending on which one wins. So my question to you is: are the Whalers in the same boat as the Deeks, where they have to make something else happen? They have to trade for somebody that can score and or shake up their lineup because they have even less goals than the Deeks do. They're scoring, but they also are giving up a little bit less.
Am I wrong? I don't remember exactly who's on the Whalers, but they have a
Serta, Trent, Peso, Dave P.
So it's kind of like an anomaly that they're not scoring at all.
It's one of the league mysteries.
Yeah, so I'm not sure that you get too concerned, at least not yet, about that, especially since we're talking, a week, 2 weeks in advance of something that may or may not even happen.
Well, they play the Deeks this upcoming Monday.
Exactly. So then,
do we have any bowlers? I made Sam. Do the Mockies bowl at all? Have you ever been in a bowling league?
What does it have to do? What?
I don't know. I don't bowl. I know Charles used to be in a bowling league.
So bowling, what they have like you have your little league schedule, and then they have after like the round robin, then they have position night. So first place plays second place, third place plays fourth place, fifth place plays sixth place. So next week is MNL's unofficial bowling. It's position week because you have the North Stars and the Tigers are 2 and 3. Whalers and the Deeks are 5 and 6. So there's like you're playing that team close to you in the standings. Was the only point that I was trying to make.
Okay. Oh, that's a little bit of a reach, but we'll go with that.
Position week.
So what I'm saying is, I don't think you kind of maybe you move things around within your team, but you don't. I don't think you freak out yet.
Do you put Trent back at defense maybe, see if that changes something? Because, I mean, for all the offensive woes they've had, point-wise, he only has 2 goals this season so far for the Whalers.
The hard part, too, is right now, obviously, Peso on the Whalers does not have a goal.
Oh, excuse me,
he
got
scored
3.
2 goals with the North Stars, though. I feel like he had a different level with the North Stars, but Peso's a guy you don't trade. History says if you trade Peso in MNL, he's going to go off no matter how bad he's playing beforehand. Not saying he's playing bad because he's got 5 assists for the Whalers. But, yeah, obviously we need to put some goals, in the net.
So if you don't trade Peso and you guys are going to trade at all, are you going to move roster around? I mean, you going to do something to change it up. Granted, you guys are on a 2-game winning streak right now with the bye, without the bye included. You won the game before the bye or the 2 games before the bye, and then you have a bye. So
yeah, so we're not playing bad on that side.
You're just
of
not
things.
scoring very much at all.
We, every one of our games like a 1-goal game, or we're losing by a couple. Obviously, we want to see that game or two where we come out, we're firing, we put 3 to 5 in the net. But
you guys are barely scoring more than 1 goal a game. You got 1.2 point goals a game.
Tell me something I don't know. Oh no, there. But like I said, we got to turn it on. We got to get some goals in the net. Try out some different lineups, but I think the way that offense is right now, where I would have to imagine GMs are not selling scorers.
Even swapping scores? I mean, hey, yeah, dance part we just talked about the Deeks. It doesn't have to be the rich and the poor trade and the rich get richer. It can be a poor and a poor trade, and let's swap silver pieces for gold pieces. And
I mean, without me knowing deals on the table, it's hard for me to comment. But to me, we all know, like, I don't know why Peso's the one that always gets brought up. He's a proven scorer in MNL. He needs a couple adjustments. He got 2 goals this game. One of them was an empty netter with the North Stars, whatever, but he finds his way there. We start opening up the ice a little bit more when we start scoring some more goals. All of a sudden, they start trickling in a little bit more. Our defense doesn't look bad as of right now. I just don't know a move that you're going to make that's actually going to come up with more scoring, because any move that I'm looking at is probably less scoring. Like, I'm looking at, are you going to do a bin for Peso? I'm not. Ben doesn't score goals. He maybe sets up goals, but
I don't know about that this year. Ben is like the leading scorer for the Ducks, I think, on the stat sheet right here.
I don't know. I doubt that. I doubt the Ducks would do that. I think Sam's correct, just because I do have some privy. Like, Trent and Serta have shown zero. They're basically we can't make any trade offers. We just got these sweet dangle sauce vests. And I'm not joking. So it's the Whalers are very inactive right now in the
I can't
trade
trade
chat.
Pierce. He just paid $35 for this sweatshirt.
That's a pretty good price, $35.
That was a great price.
That's all you guys paid. But yeah, I don't think I think obviously the Ducks are the ones that are trying to wheel and deal. But and to Busta's credit, he's not going to give away the farm. He's trying to make a good deal. And then I think, the North Stars have had some. I like to talk about it, but I'm not interested in pulling the trigger. And then the Tigers have been active. Nordiques have been active, but the Whalers and the Americans and Americans and the Seals, they were sitting there pretty, so they're not very active to do anything. They really like their teams, and I can't say I blame them. And then the Whalers are just content with their cool sweaters.
When it comes down to it, remember, anybody's available in the league. It's all about the price. You crunch those numbers. If those numbers say that you have the advantage, you pull the trigger and you make the deal.
Yeah.
Nobody is irreplaceable.
That's true. I mean, as the great Ted DiBiase said, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man. I don't know if Sam's too old. Sam doesn't know Ted DiBiase
No,
either.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Jesus Christ, Sammy.
Oh my God!
If I can put one thing out before we probably wrap
Google
up,
it.
I'm thinking that's what we're close to doing here. I didn't put this out in the news, but there is a Dangle Sauce tournament, boys, and that Dangle Sauce tournament is happening in December. And according to Dangle Sauce Tom, he's trying to get some Monday Night Lighters to build 2 teams so we can have an all-star division and then a Bender division. That tournament runs, it's $100 a player. It's a 3-game minimum. It's 5-on-5, no ice checking. It's December 27th to the 29th in St. Clair Shores. Panny sent out an email to everyone. That email looks like it was dated like 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah, I'm curious what the definition of Dangle Sauce is a bender. Like,
well, Tom said there'd be like guys like similar to us or teams that are worse if he could split it up, and he needs 2 more teams for that.
I guess, I mean, is anybody like bender overtime worthy considered a bender, or is it lower than that? Because there's some pretty good guys like Shanik, Brawny that are like bender guys and bender overtime where you go out on the ice, you're like, how the hell are you out here?
Hey, look, if like we have 2 teams of like Bender guys in the Bender division, and we have like a Proctor and a Shawnee on a line or something like that, and then there's also Sam Mackey on the wing. I don't think another team is going to complain. Or if I'm like out there skating because like Dylan wants to play goalie and Cam wants to play goalie, like I don't think anyone's going to complain that Hedges is playing defense. So he's just throwing a stick, falling down on the ice. So I mean, a bender is a bender, but I mean I don't know. It's something I guess you have to talk to Dave P and Tom about. So.
Yeah, I believe Drager sent out an email to everybody. Reply to him, or I think there's a form in that email. I looked it up today. If you're interested in playing, I have not filled that out. But if it's do or die needing a team, I could probably get out there. I know we've talked about a lot of this already, but next week's games are the Ducks, the Seals, the Tigers, North Stars, and the Whalers, Nordiques. Obviously,
who will go far?
And earn the keg.
Yes.
But we've talked about the importance of next week's game with the Whalers and the Nordiques. Obviously, the Tigers versus the North Stars. I'm not saying it's not important, but it's kind of, I think right now, we're always looking at the bottom type of thing. So realistically, the 2 big-time games are the Whalers and the Nordiques, which we've kind of talked a lot about as far as that game. And then we also have the Mighty Ducks and the Seals. I think the Ducks are favored. Dylan and Whoop, they're out for revenge. Looking at Whoop last week, I feel like he's kind of fell off the train of the health and wellness, but he's going to get back on it. He's going to be playing Friday. He's going to be good to go.
There's also a little, God, I feel bad because the Ducks need, this is poor timing, but if you recall, the last time these 2 teams played, there was that subgate where Busta illegally subbed Simonelli for Jim Ellis, unintentionally, but it was illegal nonetheless. And so we didn't want to like forfeit. And Simonelli like scored or assisted on the game-winning goal for the Ducks.
Yes,
so we didn't want it to go unpunished. So what the Ivory Tower agreed on was that when the 2 matched up, the Seals would begin the game with a power play. So that I don't know if they're going to enforce that or not, or if the Seals are going to have pity on the Ducks.
Whoa. We're a league of gentlemen. If you agreed to that, you should follow that is what I would have to say. There's that point difference is still there where if something happens on that upset, go. Now, the Americans are on the bye next week. What do you feel about the bye week so far?
Well,
like the option of having a bye week every couple of weeks. Do you like it? Do
I
you
love
not?
it. Yeah, it's great.
What does Sam Mackey do on a bye week? That's what the listeners want to know.
That's what we do want to know.
I actually have that day off, so whatever I want to do. I might show up and try to get in on a sub, but I doubt. I don't really get a lot of calls to sub in this league.
Well, there is the good thing with this Sam Mackey is the benefactor of this new sub rule, because the old sub rule used to be you had to, if the bye week player was within 3 up or 4 up or 4 down, you had to grab them. So, but now if your brother is out, you're a required sub. It's 3 spots down, so Jim Ellis is out, and maybe even the Crunker. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so if any of those 3 guys out, they have to call you there.
There you go.
And technically, it has to be a sub down. So anybody else. So if it could be Charles is not available for a second game,
you better not put the equipment away, buddy.
I know, but those skate sharpener might be featuring for the North Stars or the Tigers.
Yeah, I'll make sure to stay sober that day, or at least sober enough.
Pick up Chad on your way. How far away do you live from Chad Polinsky, by the way?
He should stop at my house for me to drive him there because I'm going backwards to Ann Arbor.
Gotcha.
I live in Belleville, so
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you're not in
it's not that far. It's not that far from me.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. Cool.
But yeah, we have a couple big games coming up. It is always every week. Last thing on the agenda, I'm just going to throw it out there is, are we happy with the way that we drafted goalies this year? Do we think it would have been better to come up with a different solution, separating them out? What about a possible, you have to draft your goalie within the first 6 rounds, so then you're not having people have to wait strategy-wise, but like, what if we did something like that? Do we think this year worked out? Is there improvements? Or do we think we should repeat it next year?
I think that's like, with the scenario that you just brought up, I think that's just like trying to do something creative for no really reason at all. I thought it worked out well. I mean, I guess in hindsight, we talked about maybe the team that got the first overall skater pick, not being allowed to get the number 1 overall goalie pick. But who are you kidding? It's like whether it's Florino, Cam, Hedis, Dylan. I mean, they're all, even Cone, there's really not, the goalies are all so good and they're all so competitive. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Honestly, this year, I think any goalie this year can play in any team and get a win. I don't think there's one goalie it's head and shoulders above anybody else. I subbed for the Ducks, we won with the Ducks. Someone, I think it was Cone subbed for Dylan subbed for the Tigers when the Tigers played the Americans, was it? And they won, and he won for them, and vice versa. So I mean, it's not really any goalie in this league that are head and shoulders above anybody else. So if anything, I mean, that's maybe a question for next season to kind of figure out, do we even draft goalies? I mean, or just kind of randomly pull them out of a hat?
I thought it was fun. I mean, the lottery was fun. I thought that added a little enthusiasm. And what I don't like about the pulling them out of a hat and assigning them is that because it's the margins are so tight, I might have gotten assigned Cam and the Whalers would have been assigned Hedis, and whereas if and you don't have that kind of freedom to pick who you want, and so I like just having the lottery, and then each team kind of gets to pick who they want because their rankings might not be the same.
Thoughts, Sam?
A little biased here. We got number 1 and number 1, so I am pretty happy with it. But to be fair, don't let perfection be the enemy of good here. It works. If you tweak it too much, you might ruin it. Don't mess around with it too much.
Yeah, I don't think it was bad. I think it was worth trying this year. I would like to see something where maybe you have to pick a goalie within the first 8 rounds, so that has the strategy of, do we want the best goalie and we sacrifice a player or not, or do we wait till the end? But it doesn't have that team who has the first pick. If they wait for a goalie at the end, it's oh, now we get to skip the worst player type of thing. So maybe it's a kind of that. There's still more strategy involved in that situation, but it doesn't screw the other teams.
Yeah, I do miss the strategy of when do you get a goalie? That I definitely do miss that. But I think it's just overall, I think it's the more fair way this way that the first, because with that 11, we've talked about it before, but when they were in the draft, not only do you get the number 1 overall pick as the skater when the goalies are included, then you don't get the last pick. So it was a huge advantage to get the first overall pick because you got the first overall pick plus you weren't stuck with the worst player. Or one of the worst.
I'm just trying to think of possible options. I don't think it was bad this year, but like I said, something if you have to make a pick within a certain round, then you still have that situation where you don't have to worry about that sacrifice, but you still have that strategy involved. I don't know. As a goalie, I don't know how that matters to you. Or if you want more parity,
the only thing I can think of is if you have the first overall pick, you can't get the best goalie, but you can't get the worst goalie. If you have the second overall pick, same thing. You can't get just so you don't end up with you get something in the middle kind of sort of thing. So then you don't end up with the best goalie and the best skater. But
what was Sammy's line? I want to save that one for later. Something about something perfection.
Perfection being the enemy of good.
Yes. I'm gonna go with that one. Perfection. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
Oh, okay. There, Crimson Chin.
So that's all I have as of right now. Sammy, I'd like to thank you for joining us. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also Hedis and Troy, as always, it's good to have you guys back after a couple weeks off.
I gotta pull out the M4. I don't have guns, so when I shoot guns down range, I'm not shooting little pistols like Dylan.
Oh, jeez.
It was good to be back. I think the possibility of the Ty and Todd being in the well next
go.
week. So I don't know if I should come, so it's all
Yes,
out, or if
the
it's
all
too much
auto
auto
podcast.
or just let.
No,
or,
you're
I don't
coming.
know. I don't know if
coming.
Piercy
The
could handle
all auto
it.
podcast.
I don't want
Let's
to do that
this.
I don't know if Piercy could
So
handle it.
as Troy was just saying, as of right now, we do have Ty listed as a guest next week. Todd is one of those guys who, when you text message him, if he wants anything to do with it, usually if you text message him, he won't answer.
Yeah.
If he text message you, he'll have a conversation. If he wants to avoid anything you say, he also won't respond.
Even
as
though
well.
he's a dumbass who still has the read receipt on his, like, so it's like, I know you read the text, buddy, and he has the phone attached to his body. Every time that Todd Otto is awake, he has his phone. So when he's not texting you, he's definitely avoiding you. I think Ty might be a little more funny without me here. I think he'll take more liberties of like making fun of me. Not that he wouldn't do it with me right there, but
I don't know. The fans are saying all auto podcasts.
Yeah.
So,
we could have some good.
Ties on the books for
there's
next
3
week.
people.
We have
Clauser,
Hedis. Who
Slackerone.
knows with anybody else? There's also talk. I know there was talk of trying to get an All Seals podcast going as well that would involve Whoop, but Whoop has not been committed to that as well. So stay tuned. We'll see how that one goes. But Ties on the book next week, possibly Hedis, and then we'll see if it's the all auto or Hedis is cool enough to drop out if we have the all auto one. I don't know how I would survive that one, but
I mean, I could serve drinks. I'll come and just drink some shots with you boys. It's all right.
But yeah,
we did have it was pretty fun. I don't know if Sammy was around. We had the name that auto trivia. I think that was a couple years ago on Slack.
No, I think I missed that.
Which auto did this? It made for some fun.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
But yeah, always call the Whoop line 714-75-WHOOP.
Pew, 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 Dylan. Pew, 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 pew.
Tune in next week to see who we are. We are over. Bye.